Hey everyone, it's me, Ari.com Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Please hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel. Please donate the links below, thank you very much. And please check my novels on Amazon. Okay, let's read Proverbs chapter 25, verse 8 and 10. Again, Proverbs chapter 25, verse 8 till 10. Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor had put thee to shame. Debate thy cause with thy neighbor himself, and discover not a secret to one another, lest he that heareth it put thee to shame, and thine infamy turn not away. Okay, that's the King James Version. It's a bit old-fashioned English, so let me go to the New King James Version that translated in a more modern language. Okay, the same Proverbs chapter 25, verse 8 till 10. It says, do not go hastily to court, for what will you do in the end when your neighbor has put you to shame? Debate your case with your neighbor, and do not disclose the secret to another, lest he who hears it expose your shame, and your reputation be ruined. Okay, this explains a bit more better. Now, what does it come down to? I'm talking about all of us, have to stop putting our trust in these courthouses. Now, hear me correctly. I'm not saying that courthouses in the world are useless. I'm just saying that courthouses have a function that they fulfill in daily life. And the Heavenly Father puts up with them, even though there are many courthouses that are corrupt in the world. Because you have a corrupt world, so of course the institutions of the world can be corrupt too. So, courthouses aren't always the best, but in some cases the best people in the world have. So the Heavenly Father puts up with it for practical reasons. That does not mean that automatically the courthouses are clean and that we should just unconditionally trust them. No, we shouldn't. Because remember, the courthouses consist of human beings who studied law, who've been inaugurated by the local administration to practice law. That's what courthouses are. So it's still human beings come together and making decisions. And each decision they make is politically motivated. Oh, Rashid, what about trias politica? The separation of powers. You have the legislative branch, executive branch, and law. Listen, I don't care what you were taught in high school. I don't care what they taught you in law school, even if you studied law. When it comes to daily life, you have to look at the social context you're dealing with. Every decision you make as an individual will also affect other people. So, whatever decision you make in life, when others call you out on it, you should be able to defend your decision. Always saying it's none of your business, it's my privacy, private life. Listen, sometimes people just want to be nosy to use things against you. In that case, you kind of move away from them in a polite way to not cause further trouble. I get that. However, you can't just say, well, I have my reasons, or, well, what do you know about it? What is up to you, whatever. No. If you make decisions, and your decisions end up having a bad effect on other people, even if the bad effect was not your intention, you still the one to make the decision that led to that bad effect. So if your decision cannot be justified and people are suffering the bad effects of your decision, you are in trouble. Simple as that. Running away will even make you even look guiltier. If this counts for an individual, it also counts for courthouses. It surprises me how many people think so magically about courthouses. Listen, if a crime was committed, let's say against you, a courthouse cannot go back in time and undo the crime. For example, let's say you were stabbed while you were hanging out with your friends. Some weirdo came by stabbing some of you all. Okay, if the guy was not mentally ill in a psychotic episode, that means he intended to harm you guys. He just wanted to offload. In this case, they can put him in prison. Question, is put him in prison undoing the nerve damage your body suffered by being stabbed? No. You will still have to go to rehab, and you'll still have to live the rest of your life with damaged nerves in your body. Even if the courthouse decides this individual needs to be executed, okay, you still have to deal with the damage. Another thing, let's say your wife cheated on you or your husband cheated on you, and now you want a divorce. Okay, you're vindicated, that's true. Here's another thing. The cheating was a manifestation that your marriage didn't work well. So, okay, your husband or your wife, anyway, your spouse was the one decided to cheat. That's not you. However, what's the context? Did they cheat on you because they're reprobate, they're just narcissists, just want to get high, doing whatever they want? In that case, it's totally not on you. However, marriage is a sexual union. If there was a sexual issue that was not satisfied or that was not addressed, and none of you want to look into it, guess what? Both of you are wrong. Yes, your spouse who brought it so far to actually cheat on someone else, they brought it way too far. But both of you were wrong. So let's say now that there was dysfunction on both sides, but now only the wrong of the cheating partner is highlighted and get a divorce. And now you move on. Listen, if you don't process your previous marriage and face yourself, go into therapy and counseling, and become a better human being, then not only did you waste years of your life in a first marriage, any other sexual partner you'll have in your life, you'll waste both yourself and another individual. Because you have not improved. It could be that your ex-partner would cheat on you, you divorce him or you divorce her, and they did improve. And now they're in a new relationship, new sexual relationship, happily married now. But you are still stuck with a divorce. The divorce still haunting you. So you did get a divorce that you wanted. But did it really benefit you? Did it really help you out? No, it didn't. What I'm saying is that courthouses cannot improve people. Courthouses, the main thing they have is violence. The main thing they have is the leverage to cause people to be afraid to miss out on life. Because when you're in prison, you can't participate in sexual relationships, so you can't start a family. When you're in prison, you can't go to birthday parties. When you're in prison, you may miss out on nutrients because you don't get the best food. In prison, you have less protection. Because what if you're sexually molested in prison by fellow inmates? It often happens. And when people overlook it, what can you do? So you can create hellholes called prison and scare people not to end up there. But that itself is narcissistic. So the prison system that the courthouse runs can be used as a narcissistic tool to keep narcissists and other reprobates in check. That it can do. But it cannot guarantee that social relationships will improve. I mean, if people can't stand you, if people dislike you, if people hate your guts, the fact there's a court system will scare them from ever ending up in prison or being associated with being a felon. And because they're afraid of losing reputation or they're afraid of bad outcomes that they can't walk away from, that's why they treat you better. But the only way they treat you better and behave towards you is basically because they don't want worse to happen. It's not because they actually love you, care about you, or they actually are of good quality towards you. You even have that maybe your parents wanted to get rid of you, abandon you. Maybe they even regret having children or whatever. Well, that's their problem. You're here. They have to deal with you. But guess what? Because they were afraid of all the bad outcomes that would follow them, they behave themselves towards you. But does that automatically mean that they're good parents? No. They just did what they have to do because they were afraid of ending up in prison or worse, being scapegoated and abandoned. So even though they did the base things for you, that doesn't automatically mean they're honorable. If they are resentful towards you, blaming you, saying that their life would have been far better off if they never had children or whatever, guess what? They're pathetic losers who want to own up to life. There are single mothers out there with multiple baby daddies who accomplish things in life by processing things and moving forward. So having children is not a block for your future. A lot of people just want to escape. The thing is, you can easily escape from a spouse by filing for divorce. You can escape from a job by resigning. but you can't escape from having children. That's something you can't escape from and look good. Nevertheless, listen, your parents should not blame you for how they fucked up in life. They shouldn't. They shouldn't do that. But guess what? Some do. The only reason they behave is because they don't want to go to court. They want it to end up in court. Maybe your father just had sex with your mom, took advantage of her, and he just wanted to move on. But guess what? She became pregnant. He forced her for an abortion. She didn't want to do the abortion. And guess what? Now you're here. And he pays child support. And because the child support was on his record, he thought, you know what? Let me just be involved in the life of my child so the court will leave me alone. So you had a relationship with your father, but it doesn't automatically mean that he actually wanted to be there. And if that's the case, you may have noticed that his behavior was inconsistent towards you. And his inconsistent behavior kind of damaged you later in life. But now you know why. So, listen, the courthouse scared them into doing its part, being part of your life, paying child support, all of that. But did it guarantee you having a proper father? No. What I'm saying is, courthouses do not improve people and relationships. And if harm happened, hey, I have to tell you, as a victim, when people do you dirty, there are times you just have to take the losses, live with the losses, and move on. Look, if you were done dirty by people, you have perpetrators who did you dirty, and you have people who allowed it to happen. Now, the people allowed it to happen facilitated harm that happened to you. The courthouse cannot afford to put 2,000 to 3,000 people in prison just because of you. Because those 2,000 to 3,000 people, if they need to have prisons put in to begin with, and if they're all in prison, guess what? You have a lot of jobs that can't be done. Construction workers, medical doctors, lawyers, because a lot of the people who facilitate the harm to happen to you, they have crucial roles in daily life. If all of them are put in prison, I mean, you're going to have a lack of social workers, a lack of plumbers, a lack of maybe administrative workers. And these people are also married, they have children, or they have other relationships. So you have other relationships going to be damaged too. So I'm just telling you, you need to look at the social context. A courthouse doesn't take any case. Let's say there are 10,000 cases of shoplifting in a jurisdiction, but also 500 cases of child abuse. Now, the courthouse has limited resources. They don't have a limited amount of police officers, a limited amount of prisons, a limited amount of time to process cases. So if there are 10,000 cases of shoplifting, it's impossible for the courthouse to deal with all 10,000 cases of shoplifting, because if they were able to do that, they wouldn't be able to deal with the 500 cases of child abuse. Now, so a courthouse has to decide which case is worth it. The only thing courthouse can do is use its leverage of violence to scare people into being violent themselves. And that's their hope they have. Because it's not guaranteed, that's their hope to contain the public. That's all they have. So every court case they do must contribute to this end. So they have to look at the context and also at the political consequences. Let's say now you have this foreign investor who together with this group is invested 10 billion into the economy of the country. And this foreign investor, together with this investment group, they're the ones who generated, let's say, 5,000 jobs. Those are 5,000 people who rely on this foreign investor for their wages at the end of the month, to pay rent and all of that. And all these people having these jobs, they now feel secure in society. That's why they're motivated not to be violent, because they don't want to lose their job, they don't want to end up homeless and all that. What if either the foreign investor or one of his sons is accused of sexual harassment, and this ends up with the police, and the police decides to look into it and talk to the prosecutor? The prosecutor will look into it, and if there's enough evidence to suggest that like sexual harassment happened, they can bring it to court. A judge has to look at the case and decide, hold on a minute, are we going to do this? If this was any random guy on the street who sexually harassed a woman, okay, we can take the case, put him in prison to scare other men not to do this. However, this is not just any random guy. This is the son of one of the main foreign investors, or this is a foreign investor himself. If we prosecute this, not only will the reputation of the foreign investor go down, the reputation of all his other things will go down, the reputation of the other foreign people related to him will go down too. So, if this court case happens, a lot of the other partners of this foreign investor may abandon him, sever ties, and because of that, the foreign investor will go bankrupt. And when he goes bankrupt, the 5,000 jobs that are now in the country will disappear also. And now you have a financial economic crisis, which will lead to depression. The depression will trigger domestic violence. People will become suicidal. So more people will become homeless. And when that happens, we have to deal with all these problems. And we are people also living in this country. Do we want to live with that? So the judge has to look at the political impact of taking a court case and also at the social consequences that will happen. And the judge has to decide if it's going to be worth it. Again, courthouses cannot improve people nor relationships. Courthouses cannot make people even want to be better. Courthouses can only use their leverage of violence. So it's fear-based, it's satanic. They're going to use the satanic leverage to calm down the public. That's all they can do. For example, if this foreign investor is revered or beloved by a lot of people, and the court outside takes his case of sexual harassment, they will demotivate all these people. And when people are demotivated, they tend to give up on life, all that. So guess what? The court will say, we're not going to prosecute this case. Or they may put it on hold. Either they dismiss the case or they put it on hold. Let's say 10 years later, you have more foreign investors, or you even have local people that built up their own corporations. So now this foreign investor and his investment group are not relevant anymore. If they would disappear, people in the country would not suffer that much damage. 10 years ago, 5,000 jobs would have disappeared. Now if they disappear, it's only 200 jobs. So now, 10 years later, the courthouse where this case on hold can now execute the case. Or if they dismiss the case, they can't bring the case back because they dismiss it. But if they still want to go after the individual, they can look at other things to bring them down. Courthouses choose their battles wisely. They do. Courthouses follow what goes on in society. They follow the political developments, they follow the trends, they follow what goes on in the public. And they follow what the public values and what the public esteems. Based on all of this, they act. They don't just look at the law written in books and follow the law unconditionally, no matter the impact on the people. Courthouses don't do that. They don't. That's why there are times you may press charges and the court doesn't do anything with it. They dismiss the case. Now, there are times it's just corrupt. Okay, that's true. There are times it's just corrupt. It can be racism, all of that. Especially if the courthouse has a legacy of racism and colonialism behind them. But anyway, it can be corrupt, but it also can be that, listen, your case may not be worth risking the safety and sanity of the whole public. And it could be that someone stole your car theft, and you reported it, and you expect the courthouse to think about it. But at the same time, the courthouse has to deal with many cases of child neglect and rape or all that other stuff. And because these other cases are more sensitive in the population, if, for example, someone molested several children and they're still on the loose, and then the people find out that the courthouse had time and resources to catch this guy, but were too busy with car theft. People can say, hold on a minute. Someone's car was stolen? That's not okay. We don't have proof of that. Absolutely not. However, that individual is still alive. They can save cash and buy a new car or lease a car. Those children were molested. They will turn into dysfunctional, defective adults we have to live with. And We don't even know if these adults ever will recover. So this damage that likely will never be can be compensated for. Your car being stolen is a bad thing, but come on now. There's nothing compared to a child being damaged physically and mentally for life. Now, you are not thinking about that. You are so pissed off about your car being stolen. But listen, your car being stolen is a bad thing. And they shouldn't have done that. Just realize, your case is not the only one around. What if the courthouse put chasing this sex offender aside to deal with your car theft and you get your vindication? Yay! They went to prison for stealing your car. Guess what? Your car is still stolen. Now, even if you get your car back, your car's been abused and misused. So you still have to live with the loss and then get another car. And what if they put all the effort to catch the car thief, but now you have multiple sex offenders on the loose? So now you have to live in a community haunted by people with sexual trauma. Are you going to open your house and receive all these victims of these sexual traumas? Likely you wouldn't. Because say, hey, I'm not the one who molested them. I need to think about myself, blah, blah, blah. Listen, the courthouse could not chase these sex offenders because they were too busy finding your car thief. So you expected the courthouse to sacrifice the overall well-being of the community to find your car thief. Well, if you expect them to do that, then are you willing to also look after all these people who have been damaged because the courthouse was on your case instead of on the case that actually mattered more? Listen, I don't know what happened to you, or I don't know if you're about to press just right, but listen, your case may not be considered worth it. Now, that doesn't mean it's okay. If it's a sign of racism or fascism, it's wrong. Even then, you'd accept this is the situation. Courthouses choose their battles wisely. They look at what goes on in the public, they look at the developments in society, they also look at what people esteem, and based on all of that, they make their decisions. And it could be that your case is simply not worth their effort because your case would bring forth more harm than good, both for you and everyone around you. And understand, courthouse cannot fix your situation. Courthouse cannot bring you justice. They call it the justice system so that people feel comfortable not taking matters in their own hands and escalating violence. The reality is they can't bring you justice. Listen, the best thing for you to do is to stay calm. Of course, you need to walk by faith and follow Christ. That's obvious. But I'm talking to believers now, because a lot of believers ain't even doing this. Believer, the best thing for you to do is to stay calm and to examine the context around you. And based on that, you have to decide whether or not the people around you or the people you're dealing with are even worth to deal with. If the people around you aren't worth the engagement or they aren't worth the association, then do not associate with them and don't engage them. I'm not telling you to be antisocial and to be a loner and to be bitter against people, willing whatever you will and be narcissistic. I'm not telling you to do any of these toxic things. I'm telling you to be real about what you're dealing with. Because when things go wrong, they've gone wrong. A courthouse cannot undo how wrong things went. And if you're the one that comes with a court case, and a court case will bring forth more harm than good, who are people going to blame when things get worse? You, because you brought the case. That's what the Bible says in the book of Proverbs. Don't be too quick to go to court. As a matter of fact, even Jesus told us this. Jesus said, if you and your your antagonist, if you and the other individual have an issue, work it out before it goes to court. Because once it goes to court and it ends up being prosecuted and you end up in prison, it's very unlikely they'll release you from there. So what Christ was saying is, listen, whatever you do, make sure on your part you did whatever you could to de-escalate the situation. Because if you did not do your part as far as you could to de-escalate the situation, when the situation gets worse, even if you are the actual victim in the situation, the fact you could have de-escalated and leave the situation unharmed but you didn't do it now means you cease being a victim. You are now part of the bad situation. And even if it goes to court and you win the court case, listen, it was still a bad situation that could have been prevented. And you, outside of the courthouse, you still have to deal with the public. So if this courthouse brought more harm than good, who has to live with the harm? The public does. So the moment they realize that the harm they're dealing with comes from this court case that you started, but then they find out that you could have avoided the whole court case by just avoiding the bad situation, guess what? Your reputation is ruined. People may not take matters in their own hands and come after you physically, yet they will blacklist you and all that. People will be uncomfortable dealing with you. You're going to become unwanted, and guess what? What are you going to do then when a lot of people turn on you? Look, court cases can backfire on you, even if you're in the right. Even if you win the court case, even if you vindicate, the court cases can backfire on you. I'm telling you, there are people walk out there who are guilty. There are people who commit crimes and will walk on there and they're guilty. And the police knows it, the judge knows it, the prosecutor knows it. However, they all know, okay, we can go after this guy or this woman because they're guilty. We can prove it. However, if we do this, we also have to deal with all the other consequences. And if we make life worse onto the people, then people may say, why should we trust the courthouse? We are better off taking matters in our own hands. And once that happens, it's too late. Courthouses choose their battles wisely. The same thing you should do. Choose your battles wisely. As a matter of fact, you should even be looking for battles. Check the context you're in and check whether or not the people are worth your engagement association. If they're neither worth engagement nor association, just walk away. Simple as that. The best fight you'll have is the fight you've prevented. I'm telling you, the best fight you'll have is a fight you've prevented by being ahead of it. Just think about the following. What would it benefit you to be the one winning every fight? Yet because you win every fight, nobody dares to disagree with you. Nobody dares to negotiate with you. People are terrified of you. And because of that, nobody wants to deal with you. Is it worth it? No, it's not. I'm not telling you to compromise and put up with abuse and mistreatment. No. If people expect you to put up with abuse and mistreatment just to relieve them, what the type of weirdos are you dealing with? What type of effed up, toxic, wasteful people are you dealing with? In that case, wow, they have exposed themselves, you move on. I'm not telling you to be a doormat just to people around you. I'm telling you, if these people don't even value themselves to want better for themselves, what's the purpose of even engaging them? If people don't even value themselves properly, they don't even want what's best for themselves. They don't even want better for themselves. What makes you think they even want better for you? If they put up with societal violence and they make excuses for societal violence that they're subjected to, that means they're perfectly fine being exploited and mistreated. So if they're perfectly fine being exploited and mistreated, you think they're going to sympathize with you standing up against it? No. They'll turn on you. Listen, not everyone out there is a narcissist. Not everyone out there is a sociopath. Not everyone out there is a psycho. Not everyone out there is a reprobate. Not everyone out there is a wasteful individual. No. Just know that at the end of the day, they're all vulnerable, fragile creatures called human beings that need to be in harmony with the local environment. So are you. So that means that you cannot expect people to put their own well-being and the well-being of everyone around them aside just to gratify you. You can't expect that. Not only is that narcissistic, that's quite monstrous and beyond insane for you to even suspect this. So listen, if the context is not in your favor, then don't expect any courthouse to choose your side and to vindicate you. Because courthouses, they look at the context to see whether or not a court case is worthy, because every court case is a battle. You have the plaintiff, you have the plaintiff, you have the defendant, you have the solicitor, the lawyer, you have the prosecutor. It's a whole battle. In some countries, you also have the jury that's look into it. Look, every court case is a battle. And the courthouse looks at the context, whether it's worth it or not. If the context is not in your favor, then a courthouse will likely not side with you. But apart from courthouse, look at your whole at your own life for now. Well, your life, you know what I mean. Look at you right now. Don't act without context. And here's the thing. Whether or not a context in your favor depends on how much leverage you have in a situation. If you, just like in some case before, if you have a lot of financial leverage over a population or in a community or in a neighborhood, guess what? The context is more in your favor because you have a leverage. If your leverage is misused by you, or if your leverage disappears and there's a vacuum in the community, that's what people don't want to deal with. So if you're the one with the leverage, whether it's financial or cultural, whatever, guess what? Because the context is in your favor, people act more into your favor. Even when you're guilty. And a lot of hardened criminals and a lot of reprobates out there understand this. You have reprobates out there who do understand this, that as long as they have the leverage in a context, that likely things will go their way even when they're guilty. That's why you have a lot of people out there who get away with a lot of horrible stuff. Because they understand reality, and that if things are not in a proper context and you act on them, it will go wrong. Now, this is not to excuse them. It's not to say that if you have a leverage, you have a right to abuse it and get away with it. No, you don't. Because just because people don't go after you right now doesn't mean in the future when your leverage changes or decreases, they can't. Listen, as a believer, always check the context. How much leverage you have over here? How many people accept my leverage? And if I use my leverage and people oppose it, am I capable and willing to deal with this fight? Will this fight be worth it? Even if I win the fight, will the outcomes be beneficial? You need to check the context. If it's not in your favor, just get out of it. Simple as that. Was it for now? Keep on growing with Christ and be at peace.